With the YouTube adpocalypse still looming over many channels, if you want to support this one, check out my Teespring store for the latest merch. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and we've been living in the age of superhero movies since probably the summer of 2000 when X-Men dropped. I mean, that movie came out of pretty much like nowhere and just blew everyone away. And then since then, everyone's been trying to one-up each other in order to be the next biggest, best thing. And it's kind of passed the mantle around for quite some time. Although I would say in 2008, when Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios released Iron Man 1, they kind of took it and they haven't given it back, no matter how many times other companies have tried to take it from them. And some people look at it as being a problem. I don't, but I do agree with what 20th Century Fox's boss here says, that Hollywood shouldn't rely on superheroes. And it's true. It's super true. In the age we're in right now, people go for these kind of event films. They go to see these big movies play out. And this is evidenced by the fact that the two Marvel movies that have come out this year have grossed, I don't know, over $3 billion total, right? I mean, we're 6 months into the year. And they've done over $3 billion. There's money. So why wouldn't Hollywood rely on them? But the truth of the matter is, for everyone that makes the $1 billion mark or gets up there, it does ultimately take away money from another film. And that's one of the reasons why so many of these studios are trying to push superhero or comic book content as a way to, well, try to cash in on the money that's there. And it may actually end up hurting them in the long run. Now, it says here, at Cine Europe in Barcelona, Spain, 20th Century Fox film chairman and CEO Stacey Snider advised Hollywood not to rely on superhero films. Though superhero films continue to dominate Hollywood, Snider advised studios to also provide audiences with large-scale entertainment tentpoles that aren't necessarily based on branded material. Snider called on Hollywood to produce content for non-event filmgoers as well, and warned that as the film business becomes more globalized, movies can't just be based on Caped Crusaders. Well, he's got a point there, but allow me to retort, Stacey. When it comes to reaching new markets and the film industry becoming globalized, you have to think of what's going to be the great unifier. And the great unifier essentially are, well, heroes. People can relate to them. It's something that translates across all dialects. You can tell the good story, who the hero is, who the bad guy is. We saw this, I think, best represented in Independence Day Resurgence, which you could tell was made for the international audience because of the way that it was written and how the jokes were just more slapstick. But again, that translates. And this is not to say that people out there do not and cannot understand nuance and context that do not speak English. But when it comes to trying to be the most amenable product you can, it really does help to do things from that perspective. And I do think that it's a detriment, actually, to intelligent audiences the world over. But it goes to show you that where we are right now in Hollywood is just that, They have to rely on event films because other than that, they're not really playing out. Case in point, China, for example, huge market. Hollywood loves it. They make a lot of money. Do you know how many movies are allowed there? 16 non-Chinese made films are allowed in China every year. They have to be applied for. So of course, movies like Marvel and, well, Solo and other places, other big franchises, branded content will make the push there simply because that to them is the best way to get, well, the content to there and get their money. China has a huge growing emerging middle class, and as a result, Hollywood wants some of that green or some of that yen, although that's Japanese. I don't know what they have in China, but whatever. The point is it's all money. So they make these decisions based upon that. So the studios end up, well, focusing more on the big stuff and kind of letting the other stuff just go away. Now, Snyder here did say, if we don't continue to reach out to the folks that come more than just to see the Avengers, we're going to have just the weekend business, which is true. But then again, Hollywood's been all about the weekend business for years now. They're only about the first 3 days. That's why there's so much emphasis on that. They look at that as the way to gauge their success. And as a result, it ultimately ends up hurting them. These aren't movies that are set for the long run. They're not set to bring in people and build up an audience. The last time I saw something like that really happening was My Big Fat Greek Wedding, a $5 million film that went on to gross more than $200 million domestic and spent 16 months in the top 10 because of word of mouth. Nowadays, it's everyone just has the weekend. We don't have time to go during the week to see movies, jobs, school, family, other obligations. So people wait for the event to spend their time on the weekend, and they wait for Netflix for the rest of it. So how do you sit there and capitalize on that and still turn a profit? Now, Snyder did say that while Fox wants to continue their X-Men and Deadpool projects, the studio has also had recent success with non-superhero films, which is true. He says, "For the studio that expects more of the same will always bring a result. There is folly in that. We want to continue, for example, with our X-Men movies and our Deadpool movies, but at the same time, we had great success with Murder on the Orient Express and The Greatest Showman. I know they did a sequel. They greenlit a sequel to the Murder on the Orient Express, and I don't know if The Greatest Showman worldwide it did better than here in the United States. It says we are very mindful of speaking to its global audience, but not doing it in a way that in the past has homogenized all the product. Where things fall off the cliff is when that bright consumer says, I have seen this movie. But yes, when you sit there and you continuously hire scribes who follow the Blake Snyder beat sheet, don't get me wrong, I've written like 4 scripts to it, but so does everybody else. It's one of the reasons why. And you ever watch the movie? You ever watch the movie and it gets to a point and you're just like, wait a minute, I know what's going to happen. It's because you've already seen the movie before. You've heard that story before with that exact same telling because of the beat sheet, right? Producers in Hollywood say they hate the beat sheet. They hate it, but they still keep buying scripts that were written by it. It's an easy way to get into screenwriting, and I recommend it for that only, but don't rely on it to tell every one of your stories. And quite frankly, so many people do. They really, really do. Now he goes on to say here that the need for diversity both in front of and behind the camera was also addressed by Snyder, who cited the success of Black Panther and Deadpool as examples of films with diverse characters. Dopinder and Domino. that was really about it. Other than that, everyone was pretty Snow White like. When you look at a movie like Black Panther or Coco, or in the case of Deadpool, it's led by Ryan Reynolds, a Caucasian. He had to stop to say that. Ryan Reynolds, a Caucasian. That must have been the most awkward statement ever. But we had a diverse cast that surrounds him. I would venture to say that Zazie Beetz is as popular in the film as he is. We are mindful that these big franchise films need to be original, need to respond to local cultures and local diverse casts, which is true. I think they do. I think Coco's success and other film success like Black Panther, also Girls Trip from last year did really, really, really well. All black female cast, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with targeting those demographics. Tyler Perry's done it successfully for years. Dude bought himself an island. That's how well he did with that. So these are fine. So it's true. Hollywood doesn't need to focus on superhero films, but what they need to do is spend more time really marketing these movies in a way that's going to bring in the audience, right? A lot of times people go see these movies because they know what they're going to get, and they've been burned too many other times on the smaller non-superhero fare that they just don't want to try something new unless they, on home video where there's less of a risk. And that's the big problem here is risks in Hollywood are minimal, but unless they're a superhero thing that flops or solo that flops, that's the problem. And so anyway, those are just my thoughts on that one. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been the 3 Buck Theater. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.